So one of the first things that I like to do before I move any further is to simplify shapes a bit. So I'm going to select everything. I have all the details unlocked, and I'm going to use the Path Simplify option. So we can check what happens. If we click on this option here, we can even see a little bit more of the settings and more of the information. Like originally we have 1061 anchor points. By default, with the auto simplify, it reduces it down to 774. If we want to go even lower, we can go maybe down almost to half the amount, 590. And a cool thing that you can do is to show the original path. So if I turn this on and off, we can compare how much change is actually happening, and not much noticeable change happens. But what we can also do is click OK, click away, and to be able to actually see what's changing, you want to also hide the edges. So go to the View menu and choose Hide Edges. So when you do that, you can zoom closer and go back and forth. I'm just using undo, redo, and we can see what happens. I definitely like the updated version. Not much has changed for this particular style. Accuracy is not that important, so we can definitely save some space and make the Illustrator file faster at this stage, because what we are going to introduce now is going to make it slower. So we will introduce a lot of small details, and the main paths that we work with should be as simple as possible. Now, one other thing that I like to do at this stage is to zoom closer and really try to identify any shapes that just doesn't work or has small little errors in them. And one thing that I can spot here straight away is this shape. Now just remember to go back to the View menu and choose Show Edges to be able to see what you're selecting. So in this case, I have that object selected, and I can just use maybe the Blob Brush tool, Shift B, and just very quickly paint over that part in the middle. And then maybe have this outline selected with the Direct Selection tool. And I have a keyboard shortcut for the Simplify option. It's F5 for me. I can maybe even go down a bit more on this. And there's also the Smooth option. I can just smooth out the edges a bit. That's also a keyboard shortcut. I'm using F4 for that, but it's in the Object menu, Path, Smooth. I use this almost on all of my projects. So that looks much better already. And now quickly, let's just select this outline as well, the ear. I'm going to just paint over it quickly with the Blob Brush, fill in that detail, and then we can just select this part here and simplify it, and then smooth it out as well a little bit, like that. Looks already much better. Same thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to use the Blob Brush tool and just refine the top edge of it a bit. Then simplify this and then smooth it out as well, like that. So it's still kept as organic as the original, but just much more simplified. So here with this shape, what we can do again is maybe even use the pencil tool just to draw over that edge. The other edge I actually like the way it looks. And then just this shape one more time, I'm going to run Simplify on it. So yeah, that can make it much more simpler. Okay, and then there's one more little detail here. I'm just going to use the eraser tool, chop that off like that. And let's click away. And then maybe one more little detail here that stands out to me. The outline of this shape. We have a little bit of crooked detail here. We can just redraw this with the pencil tool. And something like that looks already much better. Okay, so now that we refined everything and we simplified these details, it's now time to start using the brushes. Now, if you don't have the brushes panel open, just go to the window menu and choose brushes. And I have a couple of different brushes here, but first of all, I would like to introduce maybe some textural detail on the background. So what I will do is to use the brush tool now. That's B on the keyboard. And then let's try maybe using this brush first. And I'm going to set the color for this brighter teal or turquoise. And I'm just going to draw a line down here. Let's just draw maybe even a longer one. Now, whenever you use these art brushes, you can increase their thickness by increasing the stroke size. So something like that. And then I'm just going to change the color. Yeah, that looks good. But I wanted this to be behind the jacket. So right there. And now I can use the direct selection tool and just drag it out a bit more if I want it to come over this area here. This actually can go in the background now that I'm thinking about it. So I can just drag it down into the background layer. So that way it goes behind the head as well. Then maybe we can also introduce one more of the same down here. Just drag it down. That looks good as well. We can also draw something up here, another detail. And this can actually go all the way in the background, maybe just in between those shapes. So the white detail is not covered by it. But this one I'm going to set to a different color. Maybe we can use this pink or this one or even the red. Let's just see which one works better. Yeah, I quite like that red. We can of course still move these points around. So drag that down a bit. And maybe we can also reduce the thickness if we wanted to. So if I go down to 1 point, it's going to be a bit thinner. And we can control it maybe a bit better. Something like that. Just drag it down here. Maybe curve it a bit more. I really like working with textured brushes like these. They really add some more interest in the illustration very quickly. And we can actually use it on smaller areas as well, like even on the glasses. If you recall, we used a clipping mask for them. So I can go back into that clipping mask and draw inside. And then we can just use maybe a yellow brush. And this time I'm going to use one of these other brushes. And I just draw over it. Let's just select that brush again. Maybe this one. And then use yellow on it. And then we can maybe reduce the thickness on this to 0.5 points. Something like that. And then we can just drag it out to make sure it goes all the way. So details like that can look interesting. We can also turn off the drawing mode now and maybe draw one additional detail here. Let's again assign another brush to this and set this in front of the other shapes. And I'm going to use this, but with a smaller thickness, something like that. So let's drag it out a bit more. It really looks like a brush stroke. Maybe we can use this pink color on it. Okay, and zoom out. And sometimes if you created a brush detail that you like, you can just use the brush tool and draw a few more of that while you have that selected. So this just saves you time. So for instance, here I can quickly add a bit more detail. Maybe we can have some more of this detail running up here just to add more interest to the hair. And then I can switch my brush, maybe increase the width and just draw another larger detail here with red. And if we want this, it can even be added inside like this. I think that looks good. It could even go beyond the edge slightly just to make it more interesting. And I just noticed that this detail I think would work better if it came down a bit more here. Maybe even more. Just don't want that pink to show up here. So redrawing the edge up to there and then come down. That's it.